Hey guys, working on a mid-90s Nissan Infiniti today, and it actually has a plastic radiator. Well, the top and bottom radiator plastic has, you know, standard metal core, and anyway, it's leaking. So I was going to show you guys how to repair a leaking plastic radiator. Not the metal portion, done that before, that's soldering, stuff like that, but you still use about the same principle to repair the leaking part. Let me show you the leak. There you go. If you look really close right there, just wipe it away. And it starts coming back. There's no visible crack there when it's dry, but it's definitely leaking. So let's clean it off, and let me show you how to fix that. First thing we're going to do is let it cool down enough where we can take the cap off safely. Next thing we're going to do is actually degrease it. You can use, this is carburetor cleaner, but you can use brake cleaner. You could use rubbing alcohol. You could use acetone, fingernail polish remover, something. We want to get as much grease as we can off. Oily antifreeze. You can see almost instantly. That's a nice dull finish. And we're using just a regular soldering iron. This is what you call like an instant heat. So you pull the trigger, it turns on. Really doesn't matter the size of it. But the idea is we're going to go into where the hole is, and then we're going to bring the sides back and forth and melt them in. So I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to dive into my hole, bring some stuff from the top, bring some stuff from the bottom, and melt them in. And just do that all the way along. I'm actually into the radiator right there. That's okay. We're just renewing the plastic, and where it's porous, we're making it solid again. Okay, you can see that I've done it. I let it cool down a little bit, and then I drug it back over just to help fill it in. That right there should be completely fixed. What I'm going to do as a secondary measure is I like to use a two-part epoxy. This stuff's called quick steel. You could use typical JB Weld. JB Weld just takes forever to dry. This stuff takes like 10 minutes or something to that effect, and I think it's really strong. So even though this is completely sealed and I think it's good, just in case, I'm going to mix up some of this, put it over the top, build myself up a good layer. So what I've done also is I've come way out here on the edges and tried to rough up the surface, even way down here where I didn't need to be, just to give the epoxy a texture to actually stick to. So I just cut off a little piece. So I'll just, the way this stuff works is just mix it for a couple seconds till it's all like the same color, and then I can put it on. So now all I'm going to do is just work it in. First I like to drag it across, pushing it as hard as I can into any voids or pinholes that might be there. And if you don't have a soldering iron, you can get away just using this type of stuff. Just take some sandpaper, first degrease it, and take some sandpaper and really rough it up. And this stuff does work, but it doesn't last forever. It'll probably last you maybe a year or so, where if you solder it first and do this, you know, this will be a good long-term solution before the radiator decides to spring a leak somewhere else. It's all on. Make sure all my edges are pushed down. So now we'll give this the 10, 15, 20 minutes that it needs to set up, and we'll put it back together and run it. There we go. Just drove it for the last hour or two. Not a single leak anywhere on there. It's nice and dry. That's actually really warm right now. So it's holding pressure good. Radiator hose nice and tight, so it's holding pressure. We're good to go. That saves a couple $100 over a new radiator. Any soldering iron works, and the epoxy is just there just to help it along, just to reinforce the area. But you can get along with just sandpapering it and putting epoxy over. That's usually pretty good. But the added benefit of actually just using the soldering iron to melt the plastic actually works. And a lot of times you can actually just leave it with the soldering iron. It's just doing two techniques back to back, saves them. Thanks for watching. If it is leaking, another tip is if it is leaking where they actually crimp the seal on the top, the plastic part to the aluminum part, actually you can take a pair of vice grips and you can actually crimp that around tighter, and that'll usually stop any weeping leaks if it's doing between the two parts. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to thumbs up, thumbs down, and subscribe. Thanks guys. See you soon. Bye.